In March of 1970, Sangamon State University began to admit its first students at its offices in downtown Springfield. The first students to attend SSU chose it out of convenience.
Well, I decided to go to Sangamon State after I attended Lincoln Land, and then the word was passed that the university was coming that would be a junior, senior, and a graduate institution.
Being married, I decided that possibly it might be a good idea to go to school here in town rather than leaving my husband and going someplace else.
Former Springfield Mayor Karen Hacera was one of the first people in line to sign up for classes at Sangamon State.
The community was very excited about having the university, and I always say that I think it's one of the best things that happened to Springfield. It brought in a lot of people who weren't from here, and we needed that.
It was an incredibly exciting experience. The students were, many of them were starved for education. A lot of our students were people who had to opt out of school for whatever reasons. Maybe they went to Vietnam in the service, maybe they were the wives of, because it was wives at that time, of people working in state government who'd come here because their spouse had come here, had to interrupt their educations. Very bright people who'd lived in Springfield for years, who wanted a college education or to complete a college education. I would walk into a room and have people from 30 years old to 75 years old.
As students signed up for classes, a groundbreaking ceremony was held on the new campus. Among those in attendance were Governor Richard Ogilvie and then Lieutenant Governor Paul Simon. Charter faculty member Cullum Davis remembers September 28, 1970, when 45 faculty members began teaching 811 students in temporary quarters at Springfield's First United Methodist Church.
You have to understand that the campus was under construction when we started. In fact, we were delayed a little bit because the temporary classroom buildings hadn't been completed. And so this was a kind of a muddy wasteland out here, except for a handful of temporary buildings on the east side of what is now the campus.
The first guide to Sangamon State in 1970-71 outlined 4 university programs: Communication in a Technological Society, Work, Leisure, Poverty, and Power, Justice in the Social Order, and Environments and People.
People don't understand. We weren't brought into a university that already had classes. We didn't even have departments. We didn't have tenure. None of this. No evaluation system. Nothing. And we walked in and we had to build that from scratch.
We were creating courses as we were writing the catalog. And so it's amusing now to look back on it. We tried to make it look impressive, but the fact of the matter is we were all kind of reacting intuitively to very challenging questions. If there was a course that you were minimally competent to teach, we were encouraged to offer it. And that continued. I found myself teaching courses in many areas, a lot of liberal or public affairs courses, as well as history courses.
To cultivate a spirit of innovation, openness, and adaptability, faculty and students were expected to question the learning process and to test new and old techniques of teaching. Grades, when used, recorded student successes rather than failures.
There was a pass-fail system, and there was also a system where you could pretty much arbitrate the grade that you wanted to get from the university.
The early days of Sangamon State included their fair share of controversy, such as when an SSU professor was criticized by a state senator for failing to remove his floppy hat during a meeting. Students responded by holding a floppy hat day contest on campus in 1971.
Rub, rub, rubber, rub, 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 rub, play and sing along.
It became an annual tradition. While some in Springfield were quick to adopt Sangamon State, others had their doubts about the new university.
They saw a faculty who largely wore sandals and were bearded. And so there was some suspicion in town that there was a monster being created near us. After all, this was a spirit when the shootings at Kent State had occurred just previously. There had been riots on other campuses.
SSU was also unique because it didn't have sports teams. until 1971 when a baseball team was established. Still, the community expected more.
We knew that we met a relatively ambivalent community which had desperately wanted a university, but had assumed that with that would come fraternities and sororities and college football games, which didn't happen.
The university marked an important milestone in May 1972 when the first commencement was held. Nearly 450 students received their diplomas.
We have begun a new university together. We have tried to do more than provide credentials and degrees for personal advancement. I think we can say that our student body, as well as the Springfield community, is more alert and sensitive to the problems facing this nation and to the excitement of the world of ideas as a result of our presence.
The academic offerings at SSU continued to grow. In the fall of 1972, Paul Simon helped to found the popular Public Affairs Reporting Program. After Simon lost the Democratic primary for governor in 1972, he joined the faculty of Sangamon State. He later became a United States Senator.
A faculty member who doesn't learn from his or her students, I think is not a good faculty member. I'm not claiming that I was a good faculty member, but I think I did learn from the students and came to have close ties with quite a few of the students and ties that I still follow.
The PAR program is now nationally recognized as a first-rate master's program that trains journalists how to cover state government. The early 1970s would end on a positive note for SSU as the growth of the physical campus and academic programs continued. But the challenge of building a new university was far from over.
We were small, we were different. Other universities had trouble accepting our transcripts, or job providers questioned some of the titles of our courses because they were kind of gimmicky titles. So we had plenty of bruises in that time, and we didn't prosper the way our founders had predicted we would.